Picture 1815. Napoleon is defeated, and Europe's leaders are redrawing the map in Vienna. The Kingdom of Sweden finds itself on the losing side, having never betrayed Napoleon, fighting alongside the French till the war's end. Amid the intrigue, Britain and Sweden, recent enemies, see an opportunity, a permanent union to secure their power and protect against future threats. Britain wants to dominate the northern seas. Sweden, under Bernadotte, seeks security and influence, especially over Finland. The Act of Union of 1818 is signed, creating the United Kingdom of Great Britandinavia, a dual monarchy with London and Stockholm as twin capitals. This new superstate fuses British industry with Scandinavian resilience, reshaping Europe's balance of power. Russia and Austria are alarmed. The British lion and Scandinavian wolf have merged into a new political beast. The world watches as this hybrid kingdom prepares to expand its influence from Manchester's factories to Finland's forests. The stage is set for a century of transformation. The 19th century dawns on a Britandinavia stretching from Liverpool's docks to the Baltic's icy islands. British industry and Swedish resources create an economic powerhouse, while the Royal Navy, now with Swedish expertise, dominates the seas. Finland, once under Russian sway, is brought into the Britandinavian fold through diplomacy and naval pressure, becoming a self-governing dominion. Norway, inspired by nationalism, declares independence. Britandinavia, wary of forced unions, recognizes Norway in exchange for alliance and trade. Railways link British and Swedish lands, and cultures blend in port cities and government halls. English becomes the language of commerce, but Swedish retains cultural prestige. A new Anglo-Scandinavian identity emerges, pragmatic, resilient, and expansionist. The sun never sets on the Britandinavian Empire. This hybrid kingdom is not just an empire, but a new civilization. Its influence radiates across Europe and beyond. In 1914, the world faces a new reality: Germany versus the colossal Britandinavia. The North Sea and Baltic become battlegrounds as Germany tries to break the Britandinavian blockade. Epic naval clashes rage, with dreadnoughts dueling in icy waters. On land, Germany invades Denmark and southern Sweden, but Britandinavian forces fight fiercely to defend their homes. The Scandinavian campaign is brutal, with cities like Malmö and Gothenburg devastated. Ultimately, Britandinavia's industrial and naval might prevails. The German fleet is bottled up, and the invasion stalls. The blockade holds, draining Germany's resources and turning the tide of war. The Northern Front's failure is a turning point, hastening the Central Powers' collapse. Scandinavia is forever changed by the scars of war. The Great War's end brings not peace, but revolution. Russia falls to the Bolsheviks, Germany teeters on civil war as socialist and communist factions battle for control. Even victorious Britandinavia faces unrest. Workers, promised a better world, return to poverty and unemployment. Inspired by revolutions abroad, strikes and protests erupt from London to Gothenburg. Labour and Social Democrats, pushed left by their members, demand sweeping reforms through the ballot box, not violence. They call for public ownership, welfare, and the end of aristocratic privilege. The red flag flies alongside the Union Jack and Swedish cross, a symbol of democratic socialism. The establishment panics, but parliamentary democracy holds. The people demand a system that works for all, not just the elite. A political battle for Britandinavia's soul begins. The 1924 election is a turning point. Labour and Social Democrats win a landslide, promising a fairer society. The transition is peaceful. The king invites the new government to lead. Over the next decade, industries are nationalized, a national health service is created, and a vast welfare state emerges. Council housing replaces slums, and social benefits support all citizens. Britandinavia becomes the people's kingdom, a beacon for democratic socialism. Political freedoms remain: strong free press, independent courts, and regular elections. Unlike Soviet Russia, Britandinavia proves socialism and democracy can coexist. Its unique model stands out as Europe drifts toward extremism. The world watches as Britandinavia charts a new path. The nation's transformation inspires hope far beyond its borders. Social justice and democracy become its defining legacy. The experiment is just beginning. As Britandinavia embraces democratic socialism, Europe turns dark. Extremist far-right movements rise in France, Italy, and Austria, promising order and national revival. France, feeling encircled by socialist states, becomes a militaristic, anti-democratic regime. Italy and Austria follow, succumbing to fascist dictatorships. A socialist Germany and fascist Austria both claim German identity, deepening the divide. Fascism never rose in Germany. As the Spartacist revolution of 1919 succeeded, the Third Reich never rises. Instead, the German Socialist Republic rises in its place. However, the Nazi leaders weren't disheartened by Germany's turn to socialism. Instead, Hitler moved back to his home country of Austria and formed the Austrian Nazi Party. The Axis powers, France, Italy, Austria, and Japan, unite against democracy and socialism. Europe splits into two camps: democratic socialists led by Britandinavia and the aggressive authoritarian Axis. The continent is a powder keg, with ideology, not just borders, at stake. The 1930s see alliances harden: Axis versus Allies, democracy versus fascism. The Axis, led by France, Italy, Austria, and Japan, seeks to crush socialism and reclaim power. Opposing them, Great Britandinavia, the United States, and the German Socialist Republic, joined by uneasy but vital cooperation. The Soviet Union, wary of all sides, remains unpredictable. The main flashpoint is now the border between the Axis and the Socialist bloc. The English Channel and North Sea become critical frontiers once more. Internal tensions simmer, but the threat of Axis aggression unites the Allies. The world braces for a second, even more devastating war. The fate of humanity hangs in the balance. The Second Great War erupts in 1939, not in Poland, but with a massive Axis assault on the German Socialist Republic and the Balkans. The Allies reel as France's blitzkrieg devastates Germany. The Channel becomes a deadly battleground. Britandinavia's Navy and Air Force hold the line, keeping sea lanes open. In 1942, the Axis betrays the Soviet Union, opening a vast eastern front. Allied forces invade southern France and Italy, relieving pressure on Germany and the Soviets. The war grinds on, with the Axis pushed back from three directions. By 1945, the Axis is defeated. France and Austria are occupied and partitioned. Britandinavia, exhausted, begins rapid decolonization, forming a new Commonwealth. The world is left with two superpowers, the US and the USSR, while Britandinavia charts a unique democratic socialist path. A new world order emerges from the ashes. The Cold War dawns. US versus USSR, capitalism versus communism. Britandinavia, a nuclear power and Allied founder, stands apart with its commitment to democratic socialism. It allies with the US against Soviet expansion, but remains critical of American capitalism and imperialism. Britandinavian diplomats mediate crises, especially in divided Vienna, and lead decolonization efforts, building a peaceful Commonwealth. At home, the welfare state and mixed economy endure, creating a society with low inequality and strong solidarity. The Scandinavian model becomes the European norm, not the exception. Britandinavia champions development and non-alignment in the Third World. Its unique path offers an alternative to the harsh binary of Washington versus Moscow. The legacy, a Europe shaped by liberty, democracy, and socialism. The unlikely union of Britain and Scandinavia leaves a lasting mark on the world.